up to this point, it was nothing like this, like what had happened to me, and that was what was blocking it out. These guys explained to me that what had happened was a violation, and is not the way gay guys have sex, and that's when, through all this process of mental health counseling, it was about 3 or 4 weeks, that I became very openly gay. I came out to, the term they use is come out. I came out to myself, and I came out to whoever would listen to me. And I was a vocal, outspoken person on that center from there on. And in the process, in those 3 months, I had been running for student government, and in January, I was elected student government president. And I was just at that Job Corps, I was very, very gay, and so very out and spoken and positive. And anybody that come on center, if they had a problem with it, they needed to get it over with. I was, some people would say probably an activist, but I was just very spoken. If you had a problem with me being gay, tell me now, because otherwise there should be no problem. And surprisingly, very, very few had any problems at that center. I didn't have no problems because I was gay. I had problems because of my leadership roles, and some of the people didn't like some of the decisions I made. But that's here or there. But it wasn't because I was gay, I'm sure. And so, when I got out of that Job Corps, I graduated about 18 months later. I sued Springdale Job Corps for the negligence, and they agreed. And so that I got out in November, and I'm really the weekend of Thanksgiving, because I went to work for Home Call, who I had trained for. And the certifications I got out of that was home health aide, geriatric aide, and nurse's aide, certified nurse's aide. So I got 3 certifications out of Job Corps. And so and then I sued them, get my schooling and then sue them, but they deserved it. And I worked for Home Call, and my supervisor knew that I was gay then. And during the time I was in Job Corps, I get weekend passes, and I was able to go into Portland, and I explored the bookstores, and I had fake ID to go into the gay bars, but I never did. I was 19, and I turned 20 during that time. And I didn't go into any gay bar, and so I did that on my 21st birthday. I went to my first gay bar. I had roommates, and we went to mini bars, but but I was in Job Corps. I went to the bar. I went to the bookstores and explored them and learned all that. Learned that kind of cultural differences that you do. They're the little games that you play. I learned from watching, and there was lots of games you play in those bookstores. And so, but this was all in Portland, and it was quite different than what you do in Douglas County, because you don't have that here in Douglas County. And so, but I worked there, and but in February, late January, early February, my birthday's around the 11th. I think it was on the 9th is when my lawyer called and told me that they had settled out of court, and that they wanted to settle out of court. And he suggested that I go ahead and settle for the amount that they wanted, because that was the best chance I was going to get, because if we went to trial, they were going to use the idea because I was gay, they were going to use it against me, just like like I asked for it, just like they use with women when they get raped, they ask for it. And so I settled, and I was living with roommates, and I tried to call my family and wanted to go on a vacation. I wanted to go on a cruise, and I wanted to go that spring. I wanted to go on spring break of '86, and they didn't want to. They couldn't go because I was calling in February, and spring break is in March, and they were unable to go. And so I looked at my roommates, and asked these roommates that I just moved in with, these 2 gay guys, and I asked them, do you want to go on a cruise? And they said, sure. And they couldn't afford it. And I said, do you want to go on a cruise? Well, what ended up in March of '86, spring break of '86, we went on a cruise on Carnival Cruise Lines on a first-class cruise. And so, but also before we went on the cruise, I turned 21. And so, and they took me to the gay bars and everything, and it was real fun. So I had quite the evening that night. They protected me from this drag queen that wanted to take me home, that preyed on what they called young guys. And so, and she was ugly, out of drag. She wasn't too good in drag, but I was so drunk that they said that everything looked good. So, but I went on my cruise, and then I had settled and I got my money, so I spent $5,000 on my cruise, gave some to my parents, or loaned. It was might as well to give. Anyway, and I spent all my money real quick. Within 9 months, I had spent all my money, and it was over. I settled for 50 and ended up getting about 40, and spent 5 for cruise. So I ended up spending about 30,000 real in 9 months. So I was living quite high off the hog. So it was nice. So, but let's see, that would bring me to about, and then 86 is also where I ran out of money, and so I came back to Roseburg, and that's when I told my parents that I was gay, and they said, we already know. Do you have anything else you want to tell us? And so, and I still didn't get involved with Gala. I knew it was there, and I was getting their newsletter, but that was about it. And so, so I ended up getting to. I worked in Roseburg at again at Casey's. I went back to Casey's. That's what it was. It was my second time back at Casey's. I went back to Casey's and worked there, and so until I worked there and until we had a falling out, and then I ended up going back to Portland. This was early '87, and also in early '87, that's when I had my first and my only so far relationship, and that's with this guy that I met met at Casey's when I was a waiter. He was making passes at me. That was quite the evening, and so. And he was very friendly with this waitress that I was working with, Cindy, and I had no idea that he was interested in me, but I found out when we ended up going to his house that evening, Cindy and I, to have some wine coolers after work, which was we always went out to wine coolers anyway, so might as well go over there. So we went over there, and Cindy ended up leaving, and I ended up watching a video with him, and it ended up that we got emotionally involved that evening, and we stayed that way for about 6 months. And he ended up dropping me because he fell in love with this straight boy, or he was going to change this straight guy who was about 18 to be gay. He had this idea, and I was left out there on the cold, and that was not an easy breakup, but it was my first one, so my only one, and there is no books that tell you how to do it, and so we did that. I got over that, and then I went back to Portland to try to forget him, try to find work, because I broke up with him about the same time I lost my job. Maybe they were intercorrelated, I don't know. And so, but we went back up there, went back to Portland and worked. I did. And that's when I got, that was to be about June. That's when June of '87 is when I ended up coming down with a major infection that they couldn't, the doctors, I went to ER and they could never, and then I ended up getting another doctor, and they could never figure out what caused it. So I was sick for about 3 weeks. And so, and they feel, one doctor's theory is that could have been my onset of my HIV. And so, but I was working and ended up working for home call, and then they ran out of patients, which happens in home health. You run out of patients sometime. They all died because I was working respite. And so, and that's when I got a call from my friend in Fresno, a friend from Job Corps, the Job Corps that I got raped at, who was also a student leader. He called me, and he was newly married in Fresno and wanted me to come down there and look for work because I had kept in contact with him and told him I was out of work. He wanted me to come to Fresno, and he had just found this new church, and he was sure they were going to change me from being gay. And I told him, I'll come to Fresno, look for work, and hang around with you, and I'll go to this church, but they're not going to change me. And so, So I went to Fresno. This would be